Okay, let's look at this next example of factorizing now. We are going to talk about factorizing difference of square over here. So what's the difference of square over here? That's going to be this guy over here, right? When you want to recognize difference of square, you have to know this guy. I will tell you the key things that you need to know to identify how this difference of square looks like in an expression, all right? But later on that. But, you know, we have dealt with this expansion before, right? Okay, so if we were to expand this, what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen? So if you do expand this times this, that will give you a square. This times this is going to give you negative ab. This times this is going to give you plus ab. And this times this, that will give you negative b squared. So what do you notice about this expression over here? These two terms over here will cancel each other, right? So what's going to remain? That's going to be a squared plus b squared, all right? So what you see right now is the difference of square, okay? So I'm gonna just erase this, all right? So I'm gonna put this down over here so I can show you a direct comparison of what you need to look at. Okay. So if I expand this, I should get a square, sorry, not plus, minus b squared, all right? I'm just gonna wrap up all these lines a bit. So I want to show you what I want to show you. Okay, take a look at this. Now we already know this is the expansion. I'm just going to write E for short. And over here is the factorization which we are interested in doing. Now I want you to see, can you take a notice over here? If I want to factorize from here to here, what do I have to do? Do you notice that, you know, they look the same? All right, you see here both of them are A, and over here both of them are B. So, and the only difference between this is this one of the bracket is plus and one of the bracket is minus, okay? So I'm going to show you a very quick technique to factorize a difference of square because of this pattern over here, all right? Now, let's go through these 6 examples. I will show you how to factorize the difference of square directly, okay, without any working step. Okay, but I will also show you a working step, all right, which is same as the quadratic expression, the table form, to show you it works as well. Okay, but for difference of square, what can we do? Now, there are 3 main things for me that I identify an expression if they are a difference of square or not. Number 1, they must have 2 terms. All right, you can see difference of square, the expression has only 2 terms, all right? There's one over here and there's one over here. And if you notice, all of them have 2 terms, correct or not? That's checkpoint number 1. Checkpoint number 2, it must be a negative, a must, all right? A must, it cannot be positive, it must be a negative, okay? Checkpoint number 3, all right? It's both of these terms can be square rooted. They are able to be square roots. If you are able to do that, you can square root into, you know, you can square root them, which means they are, you have cleared the 3rd checklist. So number 1, again, 2 terms. Number 2, negative. Number 3, all of these things, you can square root it, okay, into a single unknown or an integer, okay? You must be able to do that, okay? So let's look at it. I have 2 terms over here, right? Check. Negative, check. Can I square root a squared, right? Can, right? I can square root a squared, right? Square root a squared just basically give me a, correct or not? Can I square root 25? Ignore this negative. Can I square root 25? Yes, I can do that, right? So I already identified that this guy over here, it's a difference of square. So how do I factorize this completely? Very simple. So always I will tell my student, if I want to factorize the difference of square, I will tell them first, add 2 brackets. All right, add 2 brackets. Oh, let me write down further. Add 2 brackets. All right, one of the bracket, it's plus, one of the bracket is minus. It will be always like this, okay? And then, what do I fill up over here? What do I fill up over here? That's going to be the square root of a. So the square root of a over here, that's going to give me a. That's what I'm going to put in. So now it's going to be a over here and a over here. And then what do I have to put in over here? Alright, that's going to be the square root of 25. The square root of 25. So the square root of 25, that will give me 5, right? So I'm going to put 5 over here and 5 over here. I'm done. Directly, I have done factorizing difference of square already. Okay? So that's how you factorize difference of square. Simple? Okay? But of course, alright, if you are not comfortable with this shortcut, it's okay. We can still use the table method to solve this, alright? Let me show you, alright, what can I do over here. Alright, same thing, if I want to factorize this using the table method, I ignore the negative. Ask yourself, what times what give you a squared? There's only one option, it's going to be a times a, right? So that's what I'm going to write. So that's going to be a times a, correct or not? What multiplied with what will give you 25? So my first pair of numbers that I can think in my head is going to be 5 times 5. Ignore the negative first. So I'm going to write 5 and 5. And I'm going to have my table over here. So cross multiply them again. I should get 5a and 5a, correct? But take a look at this expression over here. Is there any middle term? If there's no middle term, what does it mean over here? If there's no middle term, means the middle term is 0, correct? So what can I do with these two numbers? In order for me to get 0, I have to add a negative over here, correct or not? So if I add a negative over here, which means I have to add a negative over here as well, right? Oops, wrong color. So with that, I can actually complete my final answer, which is, we're going to follow horizontally like this. So that's going to give me the same thing as this. Can you see that? That's going to give me a plus 5, and then over here a minus 5. Can you see that? It's exactly the same thing. Alright? But when we see difference of square, it's okay. You can skip this working step and directly fill up the answer directly. Okay? Because eventually you would like to build a level. When you look at an expression, you need to click and know directly that's the difference of square. Okay? Let's look at the next example over here. Now this is going to be a slightly tricky one because a lot of you will confuse on this. Let's check if this is difference of square. Check point number 1, 2 terms, check. Check point number 2, negative, check. Check point number 3, can I square root the first term or not? Square root y square, that will give me y, check. Can I square root 1 or not? Now a lot of people will always confuse this. Can I do that? Yes, you can. Square root of 1 will give you 1. Alright? You can check it with your calculator. Square root of 1 will give you 1. So since I know this is a difference of square, what can I do? My working step is going to be very simple. I'm going to have 2 brackets. Alright? I'm going to have 2 brackets. Okay? So one of the bracket is going to be plus, and one of the bracket is going to be minus. Okay? So my first term over here, it's going to be from y squared. So square root of y squared, that will give me y, and y over here. And square root of 1, that will give me 1 and 1 over here, right? I'm done. Okay? So you can also expand this, and this expression should give you back this expression. Okay? Simple, right? Difference of square. Okay. Now let's go through some weirder examples over here. Alright, let's go through some weirder examples over here. But it's going to be the same. I'm going to show you how to identify this. Whoa, I have some fraction now. Don't worry. Is this a difference of square? Let's look. Check point number 1, 2 terms. Check. Check point number 2, minus. Check. Check point number 3. Can I factorize this? Yes. Can I factorize this? Now take a look. If you can't remember, you can always try square root of 1 over 4. Basically means square root of 1 over square root of 4, which will give me 1 over 2. Correct or not? We can also check 1 over 2 times 1 over 2. Will I get 4? Yes, I will. So square root of 1 over 4 is actually 1 over 2, right? So which means these two terms can be square root. I know it has cleared the checklist number 3, and I know this is difference of square. So which means I can use this method over here. So what I'm going to do now is the same thing over here. 2 brackets, right? Again, 2 brackets. 1 plus, 1 minus. The first term is going to be x and x over here. And the second term over here, square root of 1 over 4, that will give me 1 over 2 and 1 over 2. Done. Simple? Very, very simple. Okay? Now what about this? Whoa, I have some numbers involved already. Don't worry, same thing. Relax, okay? Let's see again. Is this a difference of square? 2 terms, 1 term, check. Minus, check. Can I factorize 9? Yes, Can I square root 9? Yes, I can. Can I square root x squared? Yes, I can. Can I square root 16? Yes, I can. Can I square root y squared? Yes, I can. So, which means that's a difference of square. So, same thing over here. Bracket and bracket. One of them is plus, one of them is minus, right? So, okay, I'm going to do a bigger bracket a bit. One of them is plus, one of them is minus. So square root of 9x squared. Now be very, very careful. Square root of 9x squared. Okay? So square root of 9x squared basically means what? Square root of 9x squared. Okay? Basically means square root of 9 and over here x power of 2 multiply with 1 over 2, right? So we just apply some indexes rule over here. Okay? So of course you can simplify this directly. That should give you 3 and x. So that's what happened when you square root this one. So what do I have here? What do I have here? So I should have 3x and 3x over here. And over here I should have square root of 16. That will give me 4. Square root of y squared. That will give me y. Done. Simple. Okay. Next thing over here. Alright. So I believe by now you should be able to look at this and identify that's a difference of square, right? So which means, alright, can I square root 16? Can. Square root t squared? Yes. Square root 4 over 25. Now for those of you who can't see, I'm just going to write it down over here. Square root 4 over 25 is basically means square root of 4 over square root of 25, which basically means 2 over 5. Can be square root. Okay? So, which means we know that this can be square root, s squared, we also can square root. There are 2 terms and minus is checked. We already know that's the difference of square. So let's factorize this now. So again, 2 big brackets. Okay? One of them is plus, one of them is minus. Square root of 16, that will give me 4. Square root of t squared, that will give me t. So same thing, you will write the same thing over here, right? Same thing over here, okay? And then what about this guy? So this guy over here, I'm gonna get 2 over 25s, alright? Sorry, not 2 over 25. 2 over 5s, and this should be 2 over 5s as well. Okay? Done factorizing. Directly you can done. So I believe you should be able to see this right now. Okay? So I have difference of square again. 2 brackets. One of them plus, one of them minus. Square root of 4, that will give me 2. Square root of x squared, that will give me x. It's going to be the same over here. Square root of z squared, that will give me z. Square root of 100, that will give me 10. See? Perfectly done. And I'm done. Alright? So this over here, it's factorizing difference of square.